who's your screensaver?
My daughter.
So do you have to rotate them out?
I do.
Okay. That way, like, they're like,
yeah.
Okay,
They pay attention. My daughters pay attention the most. My son, I don't think
Of
cares.
course they do. Cabe, I know you have kids.
Yeah, my son, he's an only child too.
They're
Hey,
great.
my wife's the only child.
See?
I know all about that syndrome.
That's right.
He's on it.
And how old is he?
He is he's 7.
7?
Yeah, he is 7, and he does not know a world without technology.
That's so true.
We've got like this '03 Cavalier that I bought my sister when she went to college, for going to college, and every once in a while we'll drive it just so the tires don't fall off of it or the oil go bad, and I did it one day to school and he had his iPad and there's no Wi-Fi in that car, so
And the world just
once
stopped.
that clicked for him, he was like, hey, Dad, we're not taking this like ever again.
Yeah.
And I was like, what are you talking about? Roll the window down, man. Count the trees. That's what I had to do.
Count the trees.
Oh my gosh.
Life stops when you don't have internet
It's so
access.
true.
Yeah, it
It's
was
so true.
it was life altering for him. It really was. So
Isn't that crazy?
Man.
I think I've told the story before, but my daughter, youngest daughter, this is when I knew that A, I was old, and B, that life is never going to be the same. She was 6 at the time. She's 8 now, so this is a couple years ago. And she's laying out, so first grade, she's laying out her clothes like for the morning before she goes to school. And you can tell she's kind of thinking, and I'm watching her, and she goes, hey, Google, what's the temperature tomorrow?
Stop.
And Google's like, boop. We have one of those little Google things in there. And it's like, and she goes, oh, okay, it should be long sleeves. I'm like it was just normal course of business.
What in the world?
She didn't even look at it. She just spoke. And I'm like, I've never done that in my life.
No.
I've never done
I've
that
never
either.
asked that question.
Wow.
And it's just like technology is just part of who she is.
Yeah.
Right?
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Anyways,
Anywho.
I'm old.
Likewise.
Whatever.
Okay, when I turned 28, which was a good chunk ago.
Last
when
year?
I turned
Oh.
Thank you though. When I turned 28 a good while ago, I woke up and my knees hurt. And my birthday's in June, and I was like, this is weird. And then a month later, my back started hurting, and they have not stopped.
that was
It's
at
just-
28?
Yes.
I
And I
got
was like,
4
what is
years to
this?
look forward to that.
I'm telling you. And I
gotta live
kept
the
calling my
time.
doctor, and I was like, something is seriously wrong. He was like, nope. Trust
till-
me,
wait
we
till you're
all go
40.
through this.
Wait till you're
I
40.
don't want to do that.
Cabe, see what you have to look forward to
Yeah.
in
Yeah,
life.
yeah.
That's why you
Yeah.
came here. We're here to motivate you, Cabe.
Yeah.
Live long and prosper.
Let me know how many more years I got left.
Oh, man.
All right, let's talk about Walmart in your career. So you've been with Walmart how long?
A little over 6 years.
Okay.
Yeah, a little over 6 years.
So just real quick, store manager in the Memphis area.
Actually, Bolivar, Tennessee is the store that
Okay.
I run. Store
Got it.
466.
Got it. And how long have you been there?
6 months.
6 months.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And was this your first store?
It is.
Okay. Good deal. So just walk through just real quick, and then I want to jump into some other things, but walk through your history real quick with Walmart.
Just with Walmart?
Yeah, just with Walmart. And then we'll kind of go back from there.
So I started with Walmart when I was 18 at store 738 Camden, Tennessee with Mike Sieber. And I started pushing carts. I had just had a kid at 17. So I started pushing carts, moved inside the store for a little bit, unloading trucks, did that for about 7 months, and then got dairy department manager position and did that for about 6 months before getting to go to Memphis and help out at a couple stores there. Some of the more complex stores, just helping the seasonal help. And it was there where it really clicked in terms of, this is really fun.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Let's do this. And when I got back, I got an opportunity to get promoted to assistant manager in South Jackson, store 393. And I was at that store for about 4 years with Joe Thompson. And I got promoted to store lead in Dixon, Tennessee, store 264, and did that for about 4 months before getting to come back to the market that I started in store 466 at Bolivar. And I've been a store manager ever since.
Wow. So how long have you been a store? So how long did it go from I started pushing carts to a store manager?
That was a 4.5 year gap, 5 year.
Yeah, that's quick, man.
Wow.
That's quick.
So I promoted to assistant manager in a year and 6 months.
Yeah.
So, And once I made the decision, hey, I kind of want to chase this management thing. This is a big opportunity. Tim Criswell, he's my market manager still. He was the one that really just gave tons of opportunities and platforms for me to just put myself out there. So
that's awesome.
It blew up from there.
So growing up, you never thought you were going to be a store manager?
No, not for 1 second. I didn't think Walmart was any type of platform like that.
Yeah,
you know, I had no clue. Now my son tells everybody at school he wants to be the boss, and you know, he thinks the intercom at Walmart is just
the best
it's
thing.
your platform.
Yeah,
your platform,
that is something special for him. So he loves it. Anytime he comes in the store, I got to page out, hey, associates, my son's here. Just want to let y'all know that.
Oh my God.
So where did you grow up?
Grew up in Camden, Tennessee for half my life, I guess you'd say, childhood, and then moved to Brewston, Tennessee, which is right next door to it. Okay. And that's where I graduated from. Played football and all that good stuff there. So
Got it.
most of my family actually still lives in Brewston, Tennessee. So we live in Lexington, which is like 35 minutes from there, and then that's where my wife works at, of course, in Lexington. So.
Yeah, wife works at Walmart as well.
Yep.
So Walmart family, cool.
Yeah, actually, my sister, she's a pharmacy technician for Walmart too. So yeah, we've got a little Walmart family outside of Walmart too.
Good.
So yeah.
So growing up, never thought of working at Walmart, obviously. But what's your family composition look like? You have brothers, sisters?
Yeah, I have a whole bunch of them. I think we've got enough to do a football team. But with my mother, I have 3 other siblings: Caitlin, Cameron, and Baby Sal. I still call him Baby Sal. He's told everybody, because he's 14 now, that hey, that's not cool. Don't do it.
Like, please stop doing
But
that.
like at ball games and everything, I'm like, let's go, Baby Sal, you got it, because he's still a baby to me.
Sure,
you know, that was my first one there. So, but and then I have 2 brothers and an older sister as well, by my father. So
got it.
Yeah, we got a crew.
You got a crew,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah,
You got a crew.
We got a crew.
What was it? In which town did you grow up in?
Camden and Brewston.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in Camden, what was life like growing up in Camden?
That was it was complex. My childhood is it's not a rare one. It's just rarely told. My childhood, but it's that town it's a nice little town, and it's an older community for the most part. But for me, life just wasn't that way. We faced poverty big time. Like my summers and winters, if I had 10 of them, 8 or 9 of those were spent without electricity or water.
Wow.
In the summer times, we would usually sleep in the living room, have the doors and the windows open to create that airflow. And then in the wintertime, we'd still have to leave a window or 2 open, because we usually had a kerosene heater that stayed in there, and we kind of surrounded as close as we could, obviously, around that to stay warm. And I remember several times, like pork and beans, we'd put that on top of the kerosene heater, and that'd heat it up. Usually ate once, sometimes twice a day. There was many times my mother didn't eat at all, especially if the one time was like the breakfast brunch thing, because she doesn't do breakfast. She was a champ through all of it. It was really hard, and she kind of took a different approach to how to get us through that, because there was a lot of domestic violence through our childhood. So she did the best that she could with what she was given. She had me at 17 years old herself. So, and I thank her all the time. You know, she did an amazing job. But she would usually send us to school in fairly nice clothes. Now that usually resulted in we didn't have a lot at the house, but her mentality was we wouldn't be getting bullied at school for the way we dressed or smelled and stuff like that. So several times we would bathe in creeks. There were some that were close to the house, and we would get jugs of water and fill them up at the creeks, and that's how we would, flush the toilet and stuff like that. So it was really rough for our childhood. And then when my mother did get out of that domestic violence situation, I was about 11 years old, and that's when Baby Sal was born. And my mother went through a lot. There was a lot of trauma that she was dealing with at that time. So at 11 is when I really became an adult for the most part. So taking care of all the kids while my mom was still trying to get things pulled together. And it was tough. We moved to New Hampshire for a short time, then came back and went to Brewston. And even in high school, middle school and high school. My house was not the house that you didn't come to Cabe's house.
Sure.
I would go other places, but nobody came to our house for obvious reasons. We had a neighbor that used to live behind us, and she was amazing. Her name was Melissa, and there would be nights that there was not going to be anything to eat, but she would turn the back porch light on, and if she did that, you knew that was like Krispy Kreme donuts light. She's got something hot back there. So all of us would jet back there and run to the fence and get whatever it was she would have to offer. Whether how big or small, we were just excited to have something hot, something a little bit different. But it was complex. But my mother taught us really the most important things in life was to love each other and care for others. So we didn't bully people, going through school. We didn't talk about people simply because we already knew what they were coming from with that type of stuff. So we didn't have a whole lot, but we had each other, and that was enough. And that bond that was created, like between me and my sisters and my brothers, was one I wouldn't trade for the world.
Wow.
And it was big time.
What was the gap in age between you and your sisters?
My older sister, I didn't meet until I was 15, 16 years old. But my sister that's behind me works at Walmart. She is 21. I believe that's right. I'm 24, so we got that 3-year gap. And her and my brother, Cameron, they're about neck and neck. He's 20. And those two were thick as thieves coming up. They'd wrestle and do everything, make the mud pies, that whole nine. But and then baby Sal, he's the biggest gap. He's 14 years old. Got it. That's what that looked like as far as our childhood.
Wow.
And football in Walmart was kind of the first stability that I ever found in my life, the first opportunity that I was ever given.
When did you start playing football?
I started in the 6th grade.
Got it.
6th grade, I was a defensive tackle. But then by the time I got to middle school and high school, I was playing middle backer and outside backer. So, and that was my sweet spot. I loved running that. And then that's when I figured out that being in charge was something that I wanted to do.
When you say stability in sports, sports play. Alexis is really into sports too.
And I'm so good at them.
Yeah.
Oh, I can tell. There's something that gives off that vibe.
Athleticism.
That's
right. I see it.
It's not true at all.
Anyways, but sports do provide a platform for a lot. Like for me, growing up, it gave provided me an opportunity to have discipline and this teamwork and this leadership side. And I see it in my son as well.
Sometimes even consistency.
And consistency, yeah. So for you personally, like when you had, this environment at home where there were some gaps for you personally, like what did sports do to fill those? So
we didn't know how each day would go at the house. It was kind of a mystery, but I knew every day I had practice after school. I knew what the benefit would be of lifting weights in the weight room. How hard the hits would be on Friday nights and the pep rallies. And it created a different level of joy and excitement. And then it also provided more of a father-type figure from my coaches and development as a young man growing up. So football was that first dose of that of, hey, this is how you behave in public, and this is how you do this, and this is how you pull people up with you and things of that sort. So
all those social skills.
Yeah. And it gave an awesome platform, especially from a leadership standpoint, because I was the defensive captain on the defensive side of the ball, and I was also the hype man. So before every game, we had a chant, and we'd get that thing rolling, and just that excitement and how proud it would make my mother to see me out there, whether it was a sack or a tackle for loss. When they paid your name overhead, that was like movie star stuff for my mom. It just blew her mind. So football was the first dose of that, and then Walmart came in with a home run hit.
Yeah, sure.
And knocked it out of the park.
So that football experience, where did that leadership come from for you? So you have this. Maybe you did. Maybe you had a model somewhere in your life of leadership, or maybe there's the model of the coaches. But like, was that just built into you? Is that something your mom gave you?
I would think it would have to be, but it wasn't something that I saw in myself initially. It was something that was kind of pushed, and it all started. Now to think about it, with a football coach by the name of Chris Wall. He was the first one who was like called me out in practice. He ran a play my direction, and I didn't expect it coming. And he told me, he said, "Cabe, I really expected you to call that out on defense." And that was middle school football. You know, there's not a whole lot of defensive captains in middle school football. And it was at that point that somebody told me they had an expectation of me.
They believed in you, right?
Yeah, and made me, it just put a fire in my stomach that to this day just hasn't expired. And that was the kicking point for me in football, was somebody told me, hey, and that's kind of how it works at Walmart too. A lot of times associates who have this untapped potential, they don't see it until you tell them, hey, you're amazing. You know, you can do different things, and then that kind of starts. So,
and it's probably that comment from that coach, didn't think twice about it, right? It's
Yeah.
not, he probably wasn't trying to think, hey, I'm going to light the fire. It
Exactly.
was just that one moment, and how that blossoms into so much more. Isn't that incredible?
Yeah, it's unreal. And Walmart did the same thing to me. When I went to Camden as the cart pusher, you know, it never started as I'm going to get with this company, I'm going to climb the ladder. That was never a thought. In fact, I started pushing carts, and the only reason I wanted to go inside is because, man, it was hot. Golly, it was so hot. I always tell, it's so hard. And I tell the cart pushers every day when I leave, winter or summer, please, guys, hydrate, take your breaks often.
Yeah, sure.
But it started there, you know, pushing carts, and I did it for 3 months. I told my wife, I'm going to ask. Mike Sieber is like a celebrity in Camden. And I told him I'm going to ask him if I can come inside the store because it's just hot. You know, I really want to try something else. And his immediate response just meant so much to me. The same day I asked Mike about it, that same day I got called back to personnel and offered Cap 2. And Mike didn't think anything about that. But to me, I talked about it for 3 days, like morning, day, and night. Can you believe? Yeah, Mike Sieber moved me in same day. That's amazing. And to this day, he doesn't know that type of impact he had with simple stuff like that. And then getting the opportunity when I was on second shift to eventually start being like the backup supervisor. So when the Cap 2 supervisor would go on PTO, I would be left in charge.
Lead, right?
Yeah. And that was really awesome. And then when I finally decided, hey, I'm going to go for a department manager, I had just started community college, me and my wife together. And I went to Mike and I was like, hey, nervous as all get out. Like, I was ready to just have a stroke right there on the spot talking to him.
And Mike's the store manager?
Yeah, Mike Sieber. He's still there too. Awesome guy. I was just, Mike, hey, I'd really like an opportunity at that dairy department manager position. And he was like, well, how you going to swing that? You going to college, got a kid? And I was like, I'll work every Saturday, Sunday if you just let me off on, I think it was Tuesday, Thursday, whatever my school days
classes.
Yeah. And he was like, all right. We'll give you an interview and we'll see where it goes. So did the interview, did well, got the position. There's Facebook posts to this day of me getting promoted to dairy department manager. My mom was just like, what? Yeah. So that's where it started. You know, another notch on that totem pole of somebody took another chance on me. I got to be doing something right.
Yeah.
And my son, around this time of me doing dairy department manager, still going to college, we discover he has a heart murmur really close to a key valve in his heart, which really freaked us out.
Gosh.
And at the same time, like weeks later, we find out he has a condition called Blount's disease, which causes chronic bowing in your legs at the knee. And so his legs, you could roll a basketball in between them when he was like 2. He was really, really bow-legged. So doctor's appointments, obviously, because we've got to get this stuff corrected. So we're going to Jackson, going to Vanderbilt, back and forth, working and trying to go to school.
Wow.
So I took about a week of where I just talked to my wife, Darcel, and her dad every day about, I really want to take an opportunity with Walmart, I'm pretty sure, you know, because something's got to give. Nashville State's not going to pay for my bills. And I really am starting to like this feeling I'm getting with Walmart. You know, running the dairy department, I didn't have very many associates, but there was nothing like getting an opportunity to have somebody come in because we could order all the time and have 0 outs. Oh, man.
Nothing better than that.
There's nothing better than 0 outs in a perfectly zoned department. But to get that opportunity, I finally just bit the bullet and went to Mike, and I was like, Mike, I'm going to chase Walmart full time. And Mike didn't blow it off. He asked me about, why, because he cared about me as a person, or at least he made me feel that. And he asked me, why do you want to do that? Why do you want to take that step? And we talked about it. And he said, okay, I'll give you every platform that you need to put you out there in front of the people you need to be put in front of. So he did immediately. Every time Tim would come in into our store, that was our market manager, still is. Hey, Cabe, how you doing? What do your sales look like? I get to give him that information. Or Mike could tell him, go see Cabe so he can tell you about how many outs he had to scan last week. None. What do you think about that? Stuff like that. So he really pushed me out there in front of it. And then he made sure to come and ask me when it was time to go to Memphis. And he gave me that opportunity as well. So I feel really grateful to have a leader like Mike Sieber who stepped in. And then when I went to South Jackson, that's where life changed forever for me. I met probably the most influential person I've ever met in my entire life, Birdie Mays. She's the food and consumable coach still over there at 393. And after about 30 days, I went from daytime consumable assistant to overnight assistant, and I was terrified. I was like, oh, they said this stuff doesn't happen. What am I going to do? I was really scared. But she was the overnight assistant I was replacing. And her attention to detail and the amount of care she has for just Walmart in general and people and development is where it all started for me in terms of why I'm so passionate about associate recognition, associate development. It was because Birdie, even where there was days I was like, I promise she came in here just to make me mad. Like that was her sole purpose today. Even those days, it was for my good. And it was just constant development. And then when I told her, hey, Birdie, I want to be a store manager. Golly, she dialed it up like 10 notches. Then it was like having a market manager every morning,
every day. Because you're passing it off to her, right? In a way, right?
Yeah.
So you're working overnight. You're kind of passing the store off to her as an assistant in the morning, right?
Yeah, and she took it straight to heart when I told her, hey, what I wanted to do. And then when I went back to days, we would take our lunches just to brainstorm. And then we would just decompress, talk about the day. Whatever I was struggling with, she'd help me get through it. Whatever she was struggling with, I'd help her get through it. So it was just a big-time developmental, just mentor-mentee, awesome combo. And then Joe, the store manager, he's at 1226 now in Ashland City. He gave me tons of opportunities. Like when Glenda Fleming came down, you talk about shell-shocked. I couldn't believe, he called me up to the front of the store and said, hey, Glenda, this is Cabe, and gave me an opportunity to talk to her. And I still talk about that to this day, that opportunity that I got, And he did that consistently with our regional manager, Sean Riley. Just every opportunity when one of those people came in, if I had to switch a day off or come in on my day, whatever I could do, he made sure to help me get to that point and showed me so many tricks and trades. And I owe a lot to Joe for the stuff he did for me. And then I tell people all the time, your mentor doesn't have to be, your supervisor. That's right. It could be your peer. It could be somebody who doesn't work for Walmart. And somebody who had a big impact on me, because Walmart is such a big deal. Yeah, sure. Our positions are a really big deal. Store manager, coach, team lead, they mean a lot to people. And I remember like my first day on the job, maybe my second, I was 20, really excited to be in this position. I was closing and somebody had got on the walkie and was really loud and I cut him in two. And the front end CSM called me or told me to call her. Her name's Tina Roberts. She's a front end team lead now. And she said, hey, I don't know what they taught you, but that's not okay. You need to go up there and apologize to who you just talked to like that at the fitting room. And I was like,
I'm the leader, yeah.
Who are you talking to? I'm the big man on campus. And of course that wasn't my response, but I was like, well, I didn't think. And she said, well, I'm not telling you what I think you thought. I'm telling you how it came off and how she feels. And that started right there. I kept Tina beside me for the rest of my South Jackson career because I knew if I stepped out of pocket, she had no problem. She wasn't my supervisor. She had no reason to cater to me. She would tell me exactly what she thought. And we created an awesome front-end team because I eventually became the front end coach up there, and it was amazing, what we were able to do together. And then when I moved on from South Jackson to Dixon, store 264, Chris Potts is who runs that store, and in my opinion, he'd square up if I told him this to his face, but probably one of the greatest store managers in the world. Like, he is a different guy and extremely intense, and one of the biggest teachers you ever meet in your life. He's going to allow you to make those big mistakes, but then take extreme detail and caution with coasting you through how to fix it so that it doesn't happen again. So my 3 or 4 months that I spent there was extremely impactful. The stuff that I learned, you can't buy that.
That's wonderful.
And he's got a sidekick, I'll call him Ben Westfall. He's a team lead there, and that guy was my rock. So when Chris was out, it was my mission. That store would be better than when he went on vacation, and Ben was the reason it was better than when he went on vacation, because I would just go to him consistently after I would do my morning tour and see everything that could be seen. He would be one of the people I went to, and he's a team lead. Sure. He's outranked by me, but he would talk to me just as we're having a conversation too, and like, hey, that ain't gonna cut it, man. That's not gonna work here. So
it's beautiful how you find these mentors throughout, right? These different, and you weren't even there for long periods of time, but these little moments in time where you get to meet people, and you kind of latched onto them.
Exactly.
And you're smart enough to say, hey, I don't know everything, and I'm going to cheat the system a little bit by getting information from other people, right?
Exactly.
What do you think that is? What do you think your willingness to say, hey, I don't know everything, and I'm willing to you seek out other people? What drives that?
It's a humbling factor, right? It started with Birdie when I went into the store thinking that I had to know everything. I'm an assistant manager. You can't come to me and ask me a question I don't have the answer. But it started with her when, I never forget, I merchandised a 4-way in front of the paper good and chemical department. And I had aluminum foil, toilet scrubbers, and a iron and board spray bottle. Made no sense at all whatsoever. But
they don't really go together.
No, it made no sense. But what I was told was, hey, I need you to get the aluminum foil on the 4-way. I need you to get this, get that. And I just did exactly. And she was overnight at this time. When she came in, I'd already told I want to be a store manager. Yeah. She seen the 4-way and she was like, who built this 4-way? And I was like, I did. That's all me right there. I built the 4-way. She's like, I wouldn't be proud about that. That ain't gonna cut it. And I argued with her, and I was like, that's what I was told to put there. And she said, okay, well, I'm telling you it's wrong, and when he sees it, it's you're gonna have to fix it.
That is so
I did.
Important.
Yeah, and she wasn't afraid to embarrass me, because I was red-faced, like, golly, Bill, I'm an assistant manager, and I messed that up like that.
But that's such a hard skill. You know, like, there are so many times where leaders, like, give directions, or, like, you've read something, this is how it needs to be, and then you see it up there, and you're like, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. And so that extra skill of stepping back and saying, how do I do this while kind of incorporating both things? Like, that's a hard thing to do.
And see, it was those moments that allowed me to realize that, and I told every team that I've ever been on, because it's always been a goal for me not to, a team is one thing, but when you create a family, it doesn't get any better than that. You know, family goes a different type of length for you. And that was every goal. When I was the front end, hey, this has got to be a family environment. When I was GM coach, family. And I told each one of them where I wanted to be. Hey, I want to be a store lead, and I can't do that without you. And I can't. I couldn't have done not one of those achievements in my Walmart career without those influential leaders throughout my career. Moments where it was, hey, Cabe, you're doing a good job pushing carts. That didn't mean anything, or at least it wasn't intentional by my leaders who told me that. But for me, it meant the world. And so I go out of my way every single day to tell every person good morning, because I know that there's somebody who went through the same thing I went through. Yeah. There's somebody who's nervous about the new position that they're in, or there's somebody who doesn't have that mentor in their life. And when you take that second to say good morning, or, hey, you did a phenomenal job zoning yesterday, it takes it to a whole different level. And when you accept the fact that, hey, you can't do this by yourself, you have to have these people who've been doing it 25 and 30 years.
Yeah.
When you start putting those in your circle, there's no ceiling to what you can accomplish. And that's the big message I want every store manager, every market leader, whoever it is, to understand, is that who you are and what you say is a really big deal.
Yeah.
That one small conversation you have. I have an intentional, so we have an 8:30 meeting every morning, management does. And in those meetings, I tell them, today I need you to have an intentional development conversation with somebody, or just an intentional counseling session, because that's what we have to be sometimes as operators, as a counselor. And initially the feedback was, well, we always develop people. And I was like, okay, cool. But at 2:30, you better be able to tell me who you stopped, talked to, and developed. That could be teaching somebody how to do a price change, or just listening to somebody. Because I don't necessarily need you to give me a response. But if you could listen to me and understand that I'm going through something, you didn't have to go through it. But if you understand that I'm going through it and acknowledge that may be all that I need.
Wow.
So after the fact, then I get one of my managers, and he tells me, I really appreciate you doing this, because of you asking me to be intentional with my development conversation, I found out something about an associate in terms of what she's dealing with, and she didn't feel that she was making a big impact in the area that she was working in. And so we use that as an example in front of all the management. Hey, this is why when I say that, I really want that feedback of taking that moment, because it's 5-10 minutes of your time, maybe, but for them, that was all they needed to make it happen. Yeah. I know, because I was that kid who had to get sent to the store with a card where we didn't know if it had any money on it. I was that kid who was balancing having a child of my own, going to school, and for somebody to stop and tell me I'm doing a good job, or stop and say, hey, you seem a little bit different today. What you got going on? And me be able to just decompress for a minute. It changed my life. So Walmart is so much bigger than a retailer for me. It literally, the leaders throughout this company assisted it, but changed my life forever. Regardless of where we go with the future.
Yeah, the opportunity as a leader is you get to run a business. The cool thing about it is you get to be a life changer. And you get to set people like yourself down a path to do more, to broaden your capabilities, to improve your life, not only at home or at work, but also at home. And it kind of goes back to you as a 17-year-old kid, starting as a cart pusher, and then now 5.5, 6 years later, running a store with a much bigger paycheck, much bigger responsibility, and the ability to prove your life.
Absolutely.
When you think through that process, some people might be thinking, like, how did that happen? How did that happen so fast? I'm a cart pusher. I'm a team lead somewhere, and I want to be a store manager. What were some of the tips and tricks that you would give that you think that got you to where you're at today?
Let everybody in the world know. There shouldn't be a single person in the building who doesn't know Drew wants to be a store manager. Shouldn't be any question. Don't be afraid. If the store manager seems intimidating, if you don't feel you can talk to them, let somebody know. Somebody has to know
what you want to do,
that you want more. Because if you don't, you could be that associate who pushes carts for 5-10 years or longer, and the whole time you wanted more. So I think that'd be my biggest one. Is there was never a question as far as where I wanted to go with my career. Once I made that decision, once that fire was sparked, everybody knew what I wanted to do. Everybody. And I think another one would be patient. Be patient with your mentors when they're short with you and you feel like it was intentional. Communicate. Over communicate to your mentors. Over communicate to your mentees. For those of you who are developing people, those would be two of my big ones. Is just make sure everybody in the building knows it, and then have just a little bit of patience.
Yeah, that's good.
Wow, that's great. I have a little different question. Cabe, we've had some conversations prior to this, and you come across very genuine and very people-oriented, and it's not hard to tell that you care about people. How do you help individuals kind of spark that within themselves, because it can be a little difficult to get to know people or to kind of go outside of your comfort zone to check in on someone, or to be intentional in those conversations. How do you help them navigate that to where they start feeling comfortable themselves?
Well, I think it starts there is with the conversation of once you've put that in front of them. Hey, I need you to be intentional. I need you to develop people. A lot of times people aren't comfortable with that because it wasn't something they've ever received. They didn't necessarily have somebody who put that same effort into them. Yeah. And so they don't see the reward in it. They may think that's a wasted conversation to go and sit with somebody or to have that uncomfortable moment where you're sitting down and somebody's venting and yelling and you're just like, yeah, I got you. And you're thinking like, oh my goodness, they're upset. A lot of times they haven't had those moments. So include them in some of those situations. Hey, I don't want you to do anything in this meeting that we're about to have except sit down and just listen to how this conversation organically unfolds and give them opportunities to at least witness it, because you can only practice those things organically, right? Yep. So there's several of my coaches who just think I'm just a master silver tongue type of person. And it's only because I've been doing this. I've been with the company 6 years, and I've been doing it ever since I've been with the company. It's just having organic conversations.
Probably did it before you became
It's
growing up. At 11 years old, when you're becoming the adult, like you talked about, you had to grow up fast. That probably those skills started to mold.
Formulate then. So that would be my suggestion there is to let them see it. Practice what you preach and let that be okay for them to sit in a conversation, even if it's an associate that they're managing, and you take over and let them see, hey, this is what I'm talking about. No, you're not going to be able to do it just like me the very first time, but you got to start getting comfortable enough that you can at least have those organic conversations. Let them see it organically unfold, and then when that associate gets up and feels twice as good leaving as they did coming in, then they see it. And that's where I've seen it in my buying with my management is witnessing, hey, okay, he's not just saying stuff. He means it. He lives that lifestyle. That it'll change it for sure.
Oh, that's fantastic.
I love that.
Me too.
All right. Thinking back as that 10 or 11-year-old growing up in this situation, probably hard to see where you're at today, probably impossible.
Yeah.
But what gave you hope back then? Did you have hope?
Yeah, my mom gave me hope. A specific moment, and it wasn't a pretty one, but I couldn't tell you my age. I just know we went to Burger King and got French toast sticks, and she used to get on me all the time. I was like, "Do not get that syrup on your shirt," and every time I got it on, every time. But what gave me hope was that last time that we stopped and got the French toast sticks, my mom was dropping me off, and I didn't notice until I was getting ready to get out of the car, but she had a black eye, and it was really, really dark. And I told her, I said, "Mama, one day you won't have to worry about it." And then when she realized what I was talking about, she covered her eye back up, and she said, "Baby, I know that. Now you go to school and have the best day." And to me, her selflessness in that moment where she could have turned it into anything but a positive situation, she blew it off as if there was nothing wrong in the entire world. All that mattered was that I didn't get syrup on my shirt and that I went to school and had an awesome day. So it started there. And that was really made me understand kind of what role I needed to play for my mother until we got out of that situation. So my siblings don't remember a lot of the stuff that we went through in terms of the domestic abuse, because it was my job to shield them as much as possible. So whatever was unfolding in the kitchen, I had to rush them back to the bedroom, or cover them up with a blanket, or do whatever I needed to do to make sure that they weren't going to go through what I had already been watching for some time. So my mom 100% is the reason for my optimism and the reason for my hope, without a doubt.
Being in that environment and playing that role, and now seeing your life, and I'm sure your life now gives you the opportunity to give back to your family in probably certain ways, and you've really fulfilled that role that you talked about, right?
Yeah.
When you look back at yourself, what words would you give yourself at that time? What would you tell yourself?
Keep going. Keep going. And the other one is something that I've preached forever is you can come from less and have more. And that's flexible on any scale. You know, whether you grow up with money or not, you can come from where I was at. And as long as you have the right mindset behind it, and I couldn't imagine I would make the salary that I make to this day at that age. I didn't even know that type of stuff existed, you know. So that would be my advice to me and to the kid who is going through it right now, is that keep going, and you can come from less and have so much more.
Have so much more, right?
Without a doubt.
That's fantastic. Good stuff. Did you have something?
Nope. Just trying to hold it back. I mean, I know that we've had conversations kind of about it before joining here, but the amount of grit and perseverance and just like optimism that you have it's so lovely. It really like helps re-spark things, I think, back in individuals. Yeah. And so we're just so happy to have you here and have you part of the company and pouring so much into people. And I'm telling you, back home, I'm a movie star right now. I'm telling you. But to have a platform like this was something I've always dreamed of ever since that I hit that stride of, hey, I can do more and impact people. To get an opportunity to come and tell a little bit about, hey, this is where I came from, but that means nothing. You know, that means absolutely nothing except for I went through something, I survived it, and I'm doing a really good job at giving back and trying to give. My sister, I give her as much back as I possibly can. She worries me to death. If we go out to eat, I know I'm paying for the bill. It's guaranteed. It's not even a question anymore, you know? Yeah. And like this coming year, we're selling our house, but I'm selling it to her, and I'm selling it extremely, extremely cheap so that she can make a profit off of it whenever she wants to get out of the house and get her nice big home. So, and I do that with my family, but I have those conversations like with her boyfriend. We'll go on the back porch and we'll just have deep conversation because, you know, he looks at me as somebody who I've been through it and I'm on the other side. So he inquires and asks about, you know, moves he should make in the company he's with. So I never hesitate or hold back on an opportunity like that, because what I would have given to have somebody scoop in and tell me a few things at that age, you know. Everything that I'm doing, I'm the first in my family. So everything I do, I just turn back and show and share that love. So
that's awesome.
Absolutely.
All right, Cabe. Last question for you. What would you tell individuals who want to be the next Cabe? They want to improve their lives. They want to grow their careers. And they may not know, you know, how to do it. Any last advice you'd give to them?
Reach out, find the people, because there's going to be somebody, whether that's with Walmart, whether any company in the world, there's people who are in your spot or in the spot that you want to be. So if you want to be Cabe, call me. All right, call me. But if you want to be the next GM of the company you're working for, if you want to be the superintendent, go talk to him. Go have a conversation. If that falls, keep going. You know, you can't give up at the first sight of adversity. Keep going. Ask those people who have been doing it 10, 15, 20 years. Talk to those people who have been through it. Regardless of, you know, some of those people may come off blunt. Some of them may be the most joyful, like Alexis, joyful person you ever met in your life.
I can tell that he pointed you out and not me.
We've just had, you know, conversations. First time
whatever.
But absolutely, reach out to those people without a doubt. Talk to the people who've done it before you.
Yeah, that's
such
great.
Good advice.
Well, that's awesome, man. You're clearly making a difference in your community and your family. And as a Walmart family, we're just blessed to have you. Yeah. Like Alexis said, and just like you would go back and tell yourself to keep going, I would tell you keep going. You're just now beginning, your future is very bright, and we're happy to help you. Okay.
I'm glad to be here. Thank y'all so much.
Thank you so
Safe
much.
travels back.